Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm just wondering why no one told me that the vampires in Bride are just Vulcans from Star Trek. I am this close to finishing Bride by Hazelwood, a supernatural romance filled with vague interspecies politics, computer hacking, plucky protagonists, and a knotted web of feelings between a vampire and a werewolf. This is not the first Hazelwood video that I thought I would be making. The love hypothesis comparison between the fan fiction and the published novel should be coming soon. I finished the book. I still have to read the fan fiction, but it is coming. I promise. I will not give up on that project. But here we are. I'm almost done with reading Bride. I'm like almost 90% through. I will briefly be touching on my feelings of the book so far, but I really want to focus this video on this one little detail that I saw and then hyperfixated on to the point that I lost hours of sleep over it. Like, I had to keep reading to prove my point, which is how I got to like 50% of the book in one night. I did think the info dumping in the beginning was a lot, and I did almost DNF the book before I got to chapter 3. But I stuck it out and I started having fun. Is the main character named Misery? I hate that. Is she kind of dumb? You know, for being a super smart hacker? Yes, but I personally can overlook it as an oblivious bitch myself. Though I can understand how some people cannot make it over that hoop, and why it would be annoying to have to suffer through her being so oblivious when Hazelwood is shoving the obvious into her reader's face. I get it. Are these characters copy and paste characters basically from all of her other novels? I don't know. I have only read The Love Hypothesis. And the main characters from there are kind of the same. We have Olive and Misery, who are both plucky, both go with the flow smart ladies who are oblivious to the fact that the person they're interested in genuinely likes them back. And then you have Adam and Lo, who are both quiet but commanding gentle giants with hearts of gold. But those similarities are another thing that I can overlook. I'm not expecting a range of characters from Hazelwood, to be honest. It would be nice to see, but like, am I surprised that the main female character has a witty remark to everything that is said to her? No. Do I think the cringe millennial core humor is funny as a millennial woman? Yeah. I can't do anything about that. I'm thinking that I'm ultimately going to be giving this book between a 2.5 or 3 stars, just because the dense amount of lore that is dropped on us in those first few chapters, mainly through dialogue from Misery's father. It is so painful. Also gotta deduct some points for the characters kind of being the same, and just some of the writing in the beginning I was not a fan of. And I was so mad when I first read the description of these vampires. They have pointy ears, purple eyes, and purple blood. Just the description of them made me go, ew. For one, I thought they were very elf-like, and I cannot stand just fantasy creatures, fae, such and such, just being elves. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I kind of got over it thinking that it was just Allie Hazelwood kind of giving this pseudo-scientific reason for the vampires to be the way they are so that she doesn't get too far from her STEMinist roots. But then something clicked for me. I came across a scene that made me pause and revisit the description of the vampires. So we have pointy ears, colored blood, and violet eyes. It could be a coincidence, perhaps, but let me read you this passage that made me pause. I start with my thumb at the base of Max's nose and my index and forefingers on his forehead. Then I wait for Max to calm down and meet my eyes. At the fourth attempt, I get a lock. Max's brain is soft and overagitated and easy to sink into. I stitch his mind to mine and then scramble it a little. A temporary interference. I don't stop until I'm extra sure that my hold on him is tight. And when I pull back, his body relaxes at once. Pupils suddenly blown wider. Behind me, I hear some murmurs and a soft, what the fuck. But it's easy to push it out. Just as easy as it is to let my eyes do what they're supposed to for the thrall. I do like vampire thralls, but the way she described that is a fucking Vulcan mind. The finger placement and everything. I was just like, wait a fucking minute, Miss Allie Hazelwood. Are you kidding me? I could not believe it. And so at this point, I was like, these vampires are just Vulcans. And there were further points that made me pause, and I believe helped prove my point. Vampire society in her world frowns on the display of feelings, and this is exemplified in Misery's inner dialogue, where she describes herself as a heartless bitch and unfeeling. She only cares about one person in her life, and that is it. Otherwise, she pretends she's unfeeling, and she very much approaches things in a way that I would describe is logical, and that's very much the vibe she gives off. Which, if you know anything about Star Trek, the Vulcans are all about their logic. Mr. Spock very much uses logic and logically in his sentence structure, so much so. And in New Trek, it is actually a big plot point in the movie of young Spock being overcome by his emotions because he's being bullied by other Vulcan children about his human mother, and he's kind of shamed for that, and he kind of stuffs his emotions down because that's his human side and it's not his Vulcan side, and it's a huge Vulcan characteristic. There are smaller details still, like Misery mentioning how she has almost no sweat glands, and canonically Vulcans have no sweat glands. And there's also a bit of ear play between Marlowe and Lo during one point, where it's shown that her ears are extra sensitive, and in fanon, that is a headcanon that is very popular, that Vulcans have sensitive ears and sensitive fingers. There are smaller things still that are not expanded on in canon or fanon that I still kind of pause at, Allie Hazelwood's vampires don't celebrate birthdays and other holidays, it's implied. And it is unclear, from my knowledge and also the very superficial web search that I did, if Vulcans celebrate birthdays or other holidays. So they're either Vulcan or there's some aspect of Jehovah's Witness stuff going on there. So are they Vulcans? I can't help but think that Miss Allie Hazelwood was a little inspired by our logical but cyclically horny aliens from Star Trek. Especially when I think about the author's note from Love Hypothesis, where she is thanking the fandoms she's in. And she first thanks the Star Trek fandom as well as the Star Wars fandom. And I'm not surprised that the vampires being inspired by Vulcans wasn't the main focus that readers took away from this book. Which is why I haven't heard anyone speak on this, or I'm just too far away from the Allie Hazelwood fandom to have heard anybody speak on this. And I mean, Star Trek was the origin for Omegaverse. Star Trek fanfiction, that is. Which is also another possible correction, so... which is also another possible connection, so... I just thought it was fun and wanted to share. Thanks for listening. Please take the time to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye! So, are they Vulcans? I can't help but think Miss Allie Hazelwood was a little bit inspired by our logical and cyclically horny aliens from Star Trek. I especially think this after revisiting her author's note from the Love Hypothesis, where she thanks the fandoms that she's been in, including, and firstly, the Star Trek fandom, then followed by the Star Wars fandom. And I didn't spend my teenage years reading copious amounts of Star Trek fanfiction not to be able to spot when somebody takes inspiration from it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with Allie Hazelwood drawing a little bit of inspo from Star Trek, and I'm not surprised that her vampires being Vulcans wasn't the main takeaway that readers left with that book. I mean, Star Trek fanfiction was also the origin of the Omegaverse, so a possible other connection. I just thought it was fun, and I wanted to share it with somebody. So thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye!